What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Ways of the Sith. Thank you so much for taking time to check out the channel. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Ways of the Sith. So today, we're going to do another episode of Comic Relief, and this is going to be a little bit of a long episode. I have 2 weeks jam-packed into this episode. I forgot to do an episode last week, so I'm just going to combine them, and we'll run through everything. Got a lot of great books to go over, though, so let's get into it. All right, so kicking things off, we're going to get into the final issue of G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe, issue number 300, the last issue on IDW. I've been talking about it in these last couple episodes of Comic Relief, how much I was looking forward to this issue. And it didn't disappoint, but it didn't give me an ultimate conclusion. And it ended on a cliffhanger that I guess we're going to have to wait and see where G.I. Joe goes to find out what happened. But it was very interesting. The premise basically revolved around the Joes making their last-ditch effort to escape Cobra Island, but they come to find out that Snake Eyes is been resurrected by Mindbender. And it turns out that the memory of Scarlet is what helps kind of snap Snake Eyes out of the trance that he's in. The other cool thing that they really did was, you know, kind of reunite Storm Shadow, Scarlet, the whole group, the whole squad. It was all together. Stalker, you know, it was really, really cool. And basically this last ditch assault on Cobra Island to basically go back and get Snake Eyes. And here you go. When Scarlet does get Snake Eyes, you basically come to find out that Snake Eyes' scars are all healed and that he can talk. He actually speaks her name, which was definitely an emotional moment in the issue. And you know, now Snake Eyes is totally healed. And they did a good job not showing you his face. They used Scarlet's ponytail in that panel right there to block, you know, his face. But it's kind of led to believe that he's all okay now. So going forward, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Snake Eyes and then what happens. But it left it on a cliffhanger. Like, I thought for sure we were going to get like a final resolution to this. And it just to be continued with a question mark. So great run. These last couple issues were great. I'm planning on framing all of the last issues because of the covers and the way they interlock. But I also picked up the variant with everybody on it. So gonna look really, really cool. I'll definitely show that off once I'm done framing it. All right, so next up we'll get into Amazing Spider-Man number 14. And this actually kicked off the Dark Web crossover that's going to be going on. I believe the first issue of Dark Web came out this week. I didn't pick it up. I may go back and end up picking it up. This issue was cool. Basically, it was just a rundown of Ben Reilly, kind of getting you caught up. So if you're not familiar, before this Spider-Man series relaunched and renumbered at number 1, Ben Reilly was Spider-Man for like the first couple issues. Actually had like a couple month run where the book was just focusing on the life of Ben Reilly. He was working for the Beyond Corporation, which was basically a Roxxon spinoff type deal. And they really messed with his psyche a lot throughout the process. I'm not really sure what the final result was of that. I did end up picking that book up just because I'm not the biggest Ben Reilly fan. I know I'll probably get some hate comments for that. But this book just basically kind of got you caught up and showed how Ben links up with Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen. I know from X-Men that Madeline ended up taking control of Limbo from Magic, and it seems like Madeline's going to make an attempt on something that's in New York, more than likely something to do with Jean, probably. But Ben is actually making an attempt on Peter, so they kind of reunite Madeline and Ben together and send them on this mission, basically, to take over New York. And in the process, Ben's girlfriend, who I'm not really sure of her backstory. I only met her in the last couple issues that was really focused on Ben. But apparently she was in and out of jail, prison, So Madeline ends up turning her into Hollow's Eve. Apparently she can pull off multiple masks, and this is what she looks like. So now Ben and his girlfriend are both, you know, working hand in hand with Madeline and in limbo. And they take possession of this guy that's been tracking Peter down for money, and basically bring him to limbo and turn him into something else. So it's going to be interesting. Not really sure where this dark web story is going to go. I may pick up the first issue and check it out and see, but I'm not reading X-Men. I really kind of lost a lot of interest in those books particularly. So we'll see what happens. All right, so these two I'm kind of going to do together because they do kind of tie into one another. So in the Darth Vader book, it's mainly focused more on Sabe and the other handmaidens of Queen Amidala coming together to basically try to save Sabe in what they think they're doing. But Sabe's really become attached to Vader and really become his hand, you know. So it's been really cool to see that relationship, and it's almost like a what if Padme lived and sided with Anakin. It's been kind of cool. I've really enjoyed it. So Sabe's on a mission, and one of the other handmaidens pretend to be Sabe, and Vader basically comes to find out. So he knows that these other handmaidens are trying to get Sabe. It's going to be interesting to see where that goes. But then in the Hidden Empire book, we have Vader on the trail of Kira. So this is the second issue. This has been phenomenal. If you are not picking this book up, I highly recommend it. If you were a fan of Kira from the Solo film and Crimson Dawn, this Crimson Reign, War of the Bounty Hunters, Hidden Empire story has been exceptional this last year and a half or so. This second issue basically shows the archivist again talking to what I'm believing is Luke and Leia. I'm firmly under the belief that that hut is the Jedi temple that Luke builds on that island, and this is during Leia and Luke's training, you know, Leia's training, I'm assuming, that they're watching this recording playback of this story. So the archivist is telling the story, but she's also involved in the story, trying to open the cage that apparently contains a Sith. So another little bit of time and space that they're playing with. We have the world between worlds. Now we have this cage, basically. It's really interesting to play with some of that stuff, but the purpose of this cage is to remove things outside of time and space and return them back in time and space. So apparently there is a Sith that is trapped inside this cage, and Kira is trying to use them as a weapon against Palpatine and Vader. The archivist was not successful in opening the cage, but by them attempting to open the cage, they drew the attention of Vader, and Vader shows up to squash everything. And he delivers such a great line here. This girl, who I'm not really familiar with, I'm not reading some of the other books. She says, "Do you know who I am? What you mean to me?" And Vader just says, "You're dead, and I am your death." Like, oh, so great. Such a great line from Vader. This book has been phenomenal. I've really been enjoying this. It's going to be great to see how this all ends and how they wrap it up. But Vader, this run's been great. Hidden Empire, simply amazing. Definitely pick these up. All right, so now we get into the Yoda series, and this is a new book that just started. This is Yoda #1. Absolutely love this cover and this look of Yoda just kind of flying through the air. So this book is set in two periods. It's done in a flashback sequence and done currently while he's marooned on Dagobah. So he's getting called out to, like through the Force almost, by something, and it rehashes his memory and makes him think about this planet that he went to during, I think, maybe before the Clone Wars. It's actually, I think, towards more of the High Republic era. So it was really interesting to kind of see Yoda dwell on something of the past and this mission that we don't really know about. But Yoda basically goes to this planet of people and ends up staying there as a way to protect the people. The Jedi Council don't want him to go. They don't want him to intervene, and he does anyway. So we're kind of seeing Yoda, you know, defy and do some things that Anakin did back in the day. So it was cool. Really well-drawn book. I've really liked it so far. Like I said, just one issue, but it's been cool. Very interested to see how much they touch on about Yoda and Dagobah. We did find out in the Crimson Reign book that he did speak to the archivist and teach her some things when she visited him on Dagobah. So going to be very interesting to see where they go with this. Hopefully we touch on, you know, some more stuff that Yoda was actually doing, and this book isn't just solely focused on that flashback sequence. But really cool. Recommend picking it up. And last but not least is Star Wars Revelations. This was a one-shot and a really beautifully done book. So this kind of ties in with Crimson Reign and Hidden Empire and what's going on there. It also kind of was basically a showcase of all of the books. There was a little story on Afra. There was a little story on Valance, a little bit of Luke, a little bit of Han and Chewie, and then Vader and Sabe. So it was cool to kind of flip through. The story takes place from the perspective of Vader, basically going and speaking to this Force creature on Mustafar, and apparently it's a dark side creature that has knowledge and speaks to Vader. It was interesting, something that we've never really come across. But this thing the Vader goes and talks to kind of tells him these stories about things going on in the galaxy. And they're all things that we're reading in all the other books that are currently going on right now. So really interesting, kind of almost sets up like what could be if all these things line up and play out the way that they're playing out so far. So I'm guessing somewhere along the way, maybe this is all going to tie into Vader, you know, succumbing to Luke and letting Luke, you know, take over. Maybe this is a way of like subverting that. I'm still not sure where they're going with all of this and what the intent of this book was, but it was really cool because they did kind of set you up with this this shot of like a alternate, you know, timelines and all the things that could happen. So it was really, really cool. I'm trying to look for that page now so we can take a look at it. Here we go. So here is the look at almost the infinite possibilities of things that could happen. So really interesting. It shows Kira standing over Palpatine. It shows Han outside of, unless that's supposed to be Ben in front of Han in Carbonite. Really interesting. Sabe putting on the Vader helmet. So some things that we already know are never going to come to pass, and then some things that I guess could possibly come to pass. Very interesting. I love the look at it. I thought it was really cool. Really, really nice, beautifully drawn book. Check it out if you see it in stores. It was definitely worth, you know, picking up and reading. So that will do it for this episode of Comic Relief. Let me know in the comments which one of these books seems the most interesting to you, or was one of your favorites that you picked up. Also, let me know if there's a book I should be reading that I'm not. I'm always looking for new stuff to pick up. These are kind of the things that I've narrowed down and focused on, but I'm always willing to give an issue a shot, just to check and see out what's going on in the story or character-wise, anything like that. But thanks again for taking time to check out the video. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, may the Force be with you.
We would be honored if you would join us.